because she's not operating in a work capacity, which is, he sees her turned on like
constantly. Work mode.
Yeah, work mode
activated. Welcome to the Kdrama Show. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kim.
We're here to unpack your all-time favorite Korean dramas and chat about all the reasons that we find these shows so charming.
And so addictive. And we know you do too, so settle in with some ramen and a boba tea while we dive into the Kdrama Show with Ashley and Kim. It's been like 3 weeks. It's been at least 2.
Yes. You got sick.
I got
that was your exciting.
Super sick. My family we went down hard. It was not good. But we're alive now.
That's important.
So if you hear coughing in the background, you'll know that it's me recovering from the near-death experience.
Trying to die.
Yeah.
We also had a holiday.
We did have a holiday. It was Thanksgiving. So I don't know. By the time people hear this, it'll probably be closer to New Year's. But
probably.
Yeah.
Because also, this week was pretty horrible for me.
Tell us
so
about
sad.
your woes. Ashley texts me in the middle of the night. She is
did.
very sad. It was like 3 a.m., wasn't it?
I mean, I could check. But it has been announced that the remaining 4 members of BTS have started their enlistment for the military.
It's so sad.
It is so sad. But I do think 2025 is when they're trying to get everybody back together. So they kind of
Get
have
the band back together.
to leave now.
Yeah, they've got to hurry up and knock out their enlistment.
What is it, 18 months, 2 years?
It is it 20 months now?
Maybe?
I do not know off the top of my head. It used to be closer to like 2.5 years, maybe even.
Okay.
And then
So
they've kind of
shortened
pulled
it.
back as time has gone on. They've lessened it a bit, but I think it's more than 18, less than 2, potentially.
Something like that. Because then JK wrote a letter on Weverse, which then I read at 4 o'clock in the morning after waking up for some random reason, which was a terrible, terrible life choice.
Nothing good happens after 2 a.m. Is that what it is?
3 a.m. is the witching hour. So, but I was not really awake, and then I read the letter, and then I was just crying because I cried everything anyway. But I was like, this was a bad thing to do first thing, not being fully functional. But he said something about it being like 18 months in his letter. So.
It does say 18 months. I just Googled it.
Hey, nice. Look at us go.
Just being experts.
So, yes, it is very sad. A good segue for this, though, is as I was watching the episodes and rewatching, the handles in Youngjoon's office look like the BTS,
oh, do they?
symbol.
I did not catch that at all, probably because I was too busy scribbling, but
That's fair.
that's really funny. I did not know that.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I was like, well, I'm just going to think of BTS the entire time now.
I can't escape it. It's everywhere.
It is everywhere.
So, episode 4.
Episode 4.
Where did we leave off with episode 3?
So episode 3, end of episode 3 was after the sport event at the company.
Right.
And he got really jealous because of the guy that was doing the 3-legged race with Kwokwinnam. Yes. But they were doing the 3-legged race, and they had their arms around each other because he had specifically told his team, Youngjoon had said, you better be willing to die for first place.
Mm-hmm.
And Miso's like, all right, let's go. And so she had her arm around Kwinam, and then he got all jealous and hurt himself.
Up the stairs, like us clumsy people do.
Yeah. We are also very clumsy people, so we understand. But they're back at his house, and she's putting ice on his ankle, notices that he won't let, her take the sock. She removes the sock anyway and sees a scar. It gets awkward because he's like, nope.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
He won't tell her why.
And then
they talk about the race, and he goes, do you really think it's appropriate to be that close to someone? And she says it was for a work function. And he goes, oh, really? So it's okay if I sit this close? And she goes, of course. And this close? Of course. And this close? And then they somehow end up sandwiched on top of one another because, that makes sense. Okay, now that I'm caught up, Kim Miso goes to get some ice for him to fill up his ice, comes back, and Youngjoon is already asleep. And we see that Youngjoon is actually having his recurring nightmare.
Yes.
And this time we see that he's being approached by a woman, right?
Yes.
because did we have a nightmare sequence before?
We've had a nightmare sequence before, and you just see the red heels.
Yeah, and she maybe said, hey, or something like
kid.
that. But
Yeah.
This one, she's like reaching for him. And anyway, he wakes from this nightmare, and Kim Miso is right there, and he says, I don't want to be alone tonight.
Can you please stay?
Yeah, and it's not really a trick or anything. He's just truly that afraid of being alone. But of course, through her eyes, it's her boss asking her to sleep over.
Right.
And it looks very strange.
And it's not like she was saying no.
Right. But she wasn't saying yes.
She was just like, why would I do that?
Yeah, she felt like she was in a bit of an awkward position there. But all of it was interrupted by a phone call, and then he says, you need to skedaddle.
Like,
go on.
Go home.
So Miso's walking down the street, and she's kind of thinking to herself about the scars, I think, on his ankle. Is that right?
Well, it's like a combo of the scars and then also just like
everything that happened.
Right. She's a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And not paying attention.
Right. There's this very good-looking gentleman that says you need to be careful, because they run into each other, and she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. He goes, no, this, and he ties her shoe. Which is it cute or is it weird?
I would be somebody on high alert after just being like overwhelmed in a different situation, and then somebody's like going for me, like, bro, like, you need to take a step back.
You know, cuddling with your boss.
Yeah.
And then a stranger's like, let me tie your shoe.
Right, because I'm also a true crime person, and so
this is true. You'd be like,
I'd be like, I will kick you in the face.
I have pepper spray.
Yeah, like, back it up, bro.
Right.
But she's kind of touched by it.
Well, he's so good looking that she's like, I'll let you tie my shoe. It's okay.
That's true.
So we actually find out that this handsome stranger is
Lee Sung-yeon, right? Is that how you say that?
Sung-yeon? Sung-yeon, yeah.
And yeah, he is Young-jun's older brother.
Yes.
And he kind of...
Very interesting exchange between these two.
Because we already know that Young-jun is arrogant.
Right. And we know that they don't have a good relationship from their childhood.
He comes in and he's like, what, I can't visit my younger brother? Again, I'd be like, bro, I will throw you out. 1, I don't like you. 2, you just show up unannounced.
Yeah.
Because then he tells him, I'm thinking about forgiving you.
Yeah, what a way to start a reconciliation.
It's very odd.
Usually you would start with something at least along the lines of, I was wrong too. But... Or like, he's just right out the gates. I'll forgive you. It's okay.
Yeah, like I feel that my being full of resentment towards you has kind of impacted my life in a negative way.
Impacted my life in a negative way.
Yeah. So that already rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah. I'm the bigger person, and I've decided we need to move on from this.
No. Just no.
And then Youngjun's just like, you need to go. I'm tired. We also see that there's a flashback to the cable ties.
Yes.
Kim Miso made the same mistake that Jia actually made. And
in her very, very beginning days.
Right, in the early days. Probably when they were back in America is what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But he was pretty gracious about it, considering... I mean, he explains that he has a phobia, just like she has a phobia, and that he would ask her to never... use those again.
Like, you know how you feel about spiders, this is how I feel about cable ties.
Yep. And she said that's when he finally looked human and vulnerable for the first time to her. And so it obviously stuck with her, considering how protective she is of him in that regard. But she was kind of lingering on the fact that he has the ankle scar in relation to this cable tie injury, and then thinking about like when she's rinsing her feet off at the end of the day, how much it hurts from the 3-legged tie, what would have caused such deep scarring on Young-jun's ankles. And so she's kind of piecing different things together about what may have happened to him.
But it's also in a way that she's like, I can't ask any questions, because if I ask questions, I'm a terrible, like, nosy...
Well, and he seems so withdrawn about it. He's not willing to speak about it.
Right.
Then there's a work emergency. Yes. The dynamic duo. Oh my goodness, those two, when they are going hard.
Yes. So a competing company decides to open their art center, and they move up the date. Mm-hmm. And so Miso gets there and they're like, this has just happened. What do we do? And she's like, okay, well, we'll come up with a solution. And Yoonjun just walks in. He's like,
we're moving it up.
This is the solution. We're also going to move up our opening date. And we're doing it, like, by next month. And they're just like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's just totally doable
but
right now.
But then Kimiso pipes up and she's like, we'll get it done. We'll do it, and it will be great. So they're going around to the art center, and they're kind of, checking on all of the features to make sure everything is put in place and ready to go.
Yes.
And it's kind of not.
It's a bit disappointing.
Right, but Miso keeps offering up these solutions that kind of prove her worth in a new light, just that she's not just a good helper, she's also a problem solver.
Yes.
And she's very intelligent, and it's obvious why Youngjun would keep her around, because she...
Right, because even he has
that
like, every time she comes up with the solution, he just looks at her and he's like,
dang, girl.
Yeah, that's my girl right there.
And she's so smart. Miso smart.
Miso smart. Oh, no.
I'm cutting that out. Okay. But then what happens while they're in the library reviewing everything?
Well, they aren't even to the library yet.
I thought they had just walked into the library, and then the power kind of cut out on them.
Y'all, it's been a minute since we've watched this specific episode.
A lot has happened. A lot of life has happened.
A lot of life has happened.
A lot of sickness.
But I love it because Yoonjun's just kind of like, I'm not comfortable with this.
Yeah.
Like, being in the dark. And when he turns
pulls
around,
out the flashlight,
like you do when you're telling ghost stories
I
around
know.
the fire. You're trying to make yourself look scary, and she literally had just turned the light on. She was just trying to be hopeful.
Yep. She says your facial expression was kind of cute, and he goes, "I'm not cute, but deadly." But it kind of made him stop, like, oh, she thinks I'm cute, and then he goes, "No, I'm not cute. I'm deadly."
Yes. Yeah, and she pulls out one of her favorite books and starts to read it, and he holds her phone for her. So he's holding the light for her.
It was cute.
And he's just kind of like
taking her in this moment.
Observing her, like just being like, okay, I appreciate this person.
Because she's not operating in a work capacity, which is, he sees her turned on like
constantly. Work mode.
Yeah, work mode
activated.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. Anyway, he sees her in work. He sees her in work mode, like, constantly. He never sees her like wound down, just in a normal capacity. So for him to observe her as
her as a human,
as a woman, really, not just as a secretary and a boss. But I wrote down the excerpt that she read because I thought it was really sweet. But she says, "I want to date someone like this, even if my heart doesn't flutter every second or every minute. I want to date someone who with only one embrace makes me feel as if they've washed away all the struggles of that day." And then he pauses and says, "Have I told you that you're pretty before?" And she says, "No." Well, of course I haven't, because I've never felt that way. There's just this wisp of a moment, and then there it goes.
One step forward, 2 steps back.
I know, exactly. That's exactly what it was.
He wants to try, but he's also just like, no, I can't.
I know.
I'm not there.
The thing that's funny, though, is she never lets it, like, it
doesn't faze her work.
No, it never phases her. She, even if it's an insult or if it's a compliment, she just stays professional, which is really funny.
Takes it in stride every time. But then don't they get a phone call and they're like, okay, like, we're getting things turned on or something like that for the lights?
Yes.
And so they start to leave. They're trying to get out of the building.
Trying to navigate it, yeah.
And Kimiso keeps is like, okay, we got to go this direction. And Yoonjun's like, no, we go over here. Like, it's totally this direction. She's like, all right.
Okay.
Let's go. And they get to a dead end, and she's like, she just motions as like,
maybe trust the person who's frequented the building, is what she says.
Right.
And he goes, sure. But they're trying to get out of there quickly, and in her rush to lead him out, gently reaches down and grabs his hand.
And starts pulling him, and he's like, yes.
Okay.
This is what I wanted.
She's like, wait, I didn't mean that. And then she pulls her hand away, and then he grabs the flashlight from her and grabs her hand.
And it's like, let's go.
And they navigate out of the building.
And it's so sweet. But then, they get out of the building and it's just this, okay, straight back to
Well, the workers say,
work.
"We're sorry for the inconvenience." And he goes, "It wasn't that inconvenient."
True.
He's thinking about.
He's like, I got to hold her
hand-holding.
hand.
It's cute.
It is very cute. They're trying to get an event along with getting this whole art center to open. They need an event to kind of pull people in.
Pick up.
And because they need like a hook to get people to come in.
Right.
And she's like, ooh, what if we get a famous author?
Mm-hmm.
And so, he's like,
I trust you to take care of it.
right, pick somebody. And so she's like, okay, I'll get this figured out. So then she tries to find the contact information in some capacity for Morpheus, because that is her favorite author and he's highly popular. And so she's going around trying to get like an email, a phone number, agent's name, something. And again, showing her capabilities is when she finds this one reporter who is the only reporter to do an interview
with him face to face.
No, it was through email.
Oh, it was through email. That's right.
It was through email. And she was like, I can't give that out. And she just
being really smug about it too.
Yeah, and she's just
kind of snotty.
Yeah, gross. And Miso's just like, interesting. Weren't you also the one that leaked all of this information about my company?
About my boss?
Right. And she was just like, I think if you want to be forgiven about this, you'll give me that email.
Yeah.
Along those lines. And she's just like, okay.
Where was that email again?
I think I could find that.
I can dig it up somewhere. Kim Miso meets with her unnies, and they're really pushing for her to quit. But she's starting to think that maybe Youngjun kind of needs her, not just in like a
work capacity,
but after seeing him with the cable ties especially, she's feeling like
I might be his only friend even.
Yeah, his only the only person that he truly trusts at the end of the day. And then she runs into Spider number 2 at the restaurant.
Yep. And that was freaking out with her.
And her sister, gets rid of the spider like she always does. And then Miso asks if you can recover from a phobia. Her sister says, yeah, come by the clinic when you're done with your job and we'll get you treated. And she's not thinking of herself. She's thinking of Youngjun.
Right.
Because she's really concerned about how debilitating his phobia actually is around the workplace.
Yes.
So first they're at the office and they're discussing the next day about the book concert. Mm-hmm. And like you said, her idea was to recruit Morpheus because she was talking with Jia about it and thinks, oh, that would be a great plan. Great plan, because it'd be like a face reveal even, because he hasn't done any public appearances. And that would be great PR for the company. And then all of a sudden, Youngjun gets a call and he tells Miso that he really, really, really needs lunch right now. And it's very specific what he needs, and make sure you take the stairs and not the elevator. And she's just like, okay, I'll go. Right. And she's sprinting out the door, and we see who's coming in the door is Sungyeon.
He and Youngjun have a conversation, and he's like,
it's still tense.
Right. They're like, he's just like, dude, you just leave my company.
Yeah. And so he does.
And he runs into
Miso anyway. And he asks...
He's just trying to get her number.
Yeah, he thinks she's cute because he's the girl from the other night that he ran into. Right. And she's just kind of like, okay, yeah, go away. I don't know who you are.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And gives him a fake number.
Yeah.
Which I would totally done that.
Right.
Like in high school. Be like, oh, yeah. Give me this random number. Like, I don't want to talk to you.
But then she goes, if he was Morpheus, I would have given him my number. Girl, okay. So obviously we're being set up for something there.
Right.
Okay, and then we go back to Gokui-nam, who is the workaholic heartthrob of the office.
Goodness, he's ridiculous.
He's so over the top. Oh my goodness. He's so funny. But their whole thing is like he buys 10 of the same suit.
Yes,
and
the suit debacle.
He just saves time in the morning by not having to choose. Jia and Sarah were talking about it, and Jia notices like there's some rice on the back of his jacket and tries to tell him, but he
has something there. Like, she's just trying to be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
And
he just walked away. He didn't hear her or anything.
Well, and even in general, like, because he's the heartthrob of the office, and so all the ladies of the office are like, oh, come eat with me, come do this, can I give you this, and he's just like, nah. So he's very standoffish.
Yeah.
He
takes pride in how standoffish he is, though. Yes. It's the weird thing.
It's not like just like
He's not polite
I feel
about
uncomfortable. He's just like, no, I feel like work is more important.
And I have to make sure you know that.
So even with Gia trying to be nice, he wouldn't care anyway.
Yeah.
Because he thinks, what do you want from me?
Right, exactly. But cut to the next day, she sees his jacket again, and it's the same spot of rice on the back of his jacket.
Stain.
And so she's starting to think, does this guy actually have 10 suits, or is he just wearing the same clothes over and over again?
Because she mentions it a few times. She's like, no, I'm pretty sure he only has.
And everyone gets so offended at the idea that he would wear the same outfit every single day, and he doesn't have 10 of them in his closet somewhere.
It is just very funny, because you know that there's...
Well, you know what it's leading up to.
Right.
And it's so funny that it's the one person in the office that really isn't that interested in him. She doesn't really think that much of him. I mean, she thinks he's good looking, but...
she would have to think about him for anything to...
Yeah, exactly. Right. Youngjun is, like, remaining super cool and calm about this whole moving up the event, all things considered, because all he's doing is thinking about the 5 minutes that he got to spend with Miso in the dark holding her hand.
Yes.
So he's just like, I'm so glad that this happened.
Like, yes, I thank you for letting things progress.
Yep,
that I don't have to force.
When Miso goes to fix his tie and he says, I clearly need to call my heart doctor because something is wrong with me. My heart is broken. Yes. It's thumping so hard.
And she's like, what?
So cute. Then Sarah and her mysterious office fling that's happening with Secretary Yang.
Yang, I think it's Secretary Yang. Because, it's not even like a...
They just keep running into each other.
And
there's some weird kind of tension going on.
He's like, oh, she's so cute. She keeps running into me. And she's like, get out of my way.
Tiny, angry, little, I don't know.
Like, I will pound you with my little fist.
Yeah.
Like, just move.
She's like, clearly I'm a 10 and you're like a 3, so get out of my way.
Yeah. She's so funny, though.
She's so funny. I love her character. Youngjun's mom tricks him into family dinner.
Yes, because she comes in to visit and then leaves her purse behind.
By accident. Yeah.
Oops.
And then she calls right away like, oh no, I left my bag. Please make sure Youngjun is the one to return it.
At about like 6 o'clock tonight or whatever
exactly.
time.
Make sure he swings by for dinner time.
Yes.
So family dinner gets a little intense.
Don't they? They're sitting there and they're just clearly like, you see that they want to like stab each other with their utensils.
Sungyeon is like being the ideal son, being super charming,
right,
bantering with his parents. And
you haven't seen me in 3 years. Let me just be the perfect child.
Me so much. And then Youngjun is just sitting there like, I hate my life.
I'm just gonna eat this food and go home.
But their mom recommends like, why don't we have Miso come join us for dinner? And then Sungyeon is like, Miso?
Who's this?
Oh, that's the girl that he knows. He met her in the hallway, and he goes, who is that? And Youngjun is like quick to change the subject.
He's like, no.
He is so protective of her when it comes to his brother. He goes to like great lengths to keep her away from him. Then cut to after dinner, and those two are kind of hanging out in like the study or something like that. And Sungyeon brings up the whole forgiveness thing again, where you can tell he clearly feels wronged, but he's willing to forgive, right? Because
in a very condescending,
bygones,
rude way.
Exactly.
Yes. Because Youngjun's just like, dude,
He's not going to budge.
He's like, I'm not going to apologize for something I don't remember.
Well, yeah, and he's like, it was 20 years ago. You need to let go of the past. And that's his whole thing in the next few episodes, you hear that over and over again, like, let go of the past.
Focus on the future. Focus on now. Yeah. Like, why would you want to dig that up?
Exactly. Sungyeon says something like, are you going to hate me forever or something? And Youngjun goes, I don't hate you, but I feel contempt for you. And you're like, oh, dang, okay.
Alrighty.
Calm down there,
so
sir.
I'm going to leave the room now, because that's...
Yeah. Well, then Sungyeon blames Youngjun for losing his position in the company from all of this trauma that happened with this whole thing in the past. So it's basically...
It's his fault that he doesn't have the position.
Youngjun's fault that he lost everything in his whole life. And Youngjun's like, no, you're just lazy. You would have never achieved what I've achieved anyway.
Which is true, because he never had any desire.
Right. It's not like he was trying to be that. He wanted to be a writer. He's like the softer, more emotional, more empathetic person.
Right.
And Youngjun's like the business-minded,
driven, ambitious,
black and white,
Right.
So it makes sense why why they're where they are, and they're both super successful, so I don't know why it's such a big.
And
but it is siblings.
Well, yes, it's siblings, but it's also just a total jab. Let me see if, while I'm saying I'm going to forgive you for all of these wrongs, I'm still going to make you feel like complete garbage.
Yeah. Yep.
And blame you for actions.
Yeah.
That clearly have nothing to do with.
My forgiveness only comes with your admission of guilt.
Yes.
Yeah. So he says that he's weak and he harms other people to protect himself. And I was like, hang on to that. Tuck that one away for later.
Yes.
That may be important later.
What?
But Sungyeon then...
Doesn't he come at him?
He sucker punches him, basically.
Yeah, and they come to blows.
And Youngjun goes to retaliate, but the parents are like, no.
Stop. And of course, it's...
He, once again, has to show restraint when his brother is allowed to,
explode.
Yeah, is essentially.
In whatever way that would be.
Mm-hmm. He gets to say what he wants to say. He gets to do what he wants to do.
No one will keep him in check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very maddening. As the older child who had to watch that, very maddening.
As the younger child, I don't know.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Things that I've, watched in my life, with like dealing with children of like, you're like, okay, no, you need to learn how to have restraint.
Yeah, tantrums happen, but let's figure out how to get past it.
Yeah, let's move on. And clearly, Sungyeon just doesn't want to. Yeah. He wants to hold that.
He's used to getting what he wants. He's used to getting the women. He's used to getting the money. He's used to getting the prestige. And so for Youngjun to be unbothered by that, I think...
It just rubs him the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's the little brother at the end of the day. He should be jealous of his young, but he's not. So
not at all.
It's weird. It's such a weird dynamic. But what's really funny is in real life... Park Seo-joon is actually older than the actor that plays his brother.
Really? I didn't know that.
And I think it's been like 5 years, maybe even. It's a little bit significant, yeah.
Wow. I bet that was an interesting...
I know. It would be an interesting
dynamic
set.
Yeah. And be like, as soon as the scenes over, Young, I'm so sorry. After all this, Youngjun basically rushes himself to Miso's house. Yep. And is just like, almost in a way, like, I need sympathy. But, like, you take care of me.
It's the one person that with one embrace can wash away the worries of the day.
It's true. Yes.
Yep. And then they play the guitar. And then they play the guitar motif that I love so much.
The highlight of every episode for Kim is when that music starts playing.
It really is. It's the best.
It is so pretty. But when Miso opens the door, like, the first thing she notices is his cut lip. And it's just like...
No, because they meet in the street. She's walking by with headphones on. She has her eggs in the bag that she's swinging.
Oh, is that what it is? I thought she opened the door.
And then it scares her, and she drops them and breaks all the eggs. Because then once she sees the lip, she's like, let's go take care of it inside. Yeah, she opens the door, and then she swings it shut. Yes. And then the panic clean ensues.
And yes, because I wrote for her, I was like, she's messy. Same.
Honestly, her messy is probably my clean right now. I have 2 kids under the age of 3, and it's a bit chaotic. But
I also have 2 kids, but they are cats, so that's my excuse.
That is fair.
But like, I totally understand the panic clean of like,
oh yeah, someone's coming over. You weren't expecting.
Hey, look, there's a room that nobody's going in. Let me shove all that in there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But then she gets him inside. She takes care of him. And it's a total thing in K-dramas. If when somebody's hurt, it's a whole thing to be up in
up in their business.
And you're, using the...
It's always the lip, because that's such like an intimate area, or the eye that you have to put some medicine on.
Or it's like on the arm, and then they do the whole
lift
blow
their shirt or something. Yeah.
Blow on the wound with it.
Oh, it's so awkward.
I mean... Not my personal recommendation to blow in somebody's injury while you're,
Yeah, it's probably a good way to get an infection.
Probably. But she gets them all...
patched up.
And she's like, do you want some ramen?
Do you want to eat ramen and go?
She's literally just trying to be helpful and
trying to give him some comfort food.
As she's going to go start the water, Hyunjoo notices that
hardworking cow
is face down, not knowing that in her panic cleaning, she had taken all of her underwear and shoved it and was like, this is big enough to cover it all. And so he's like, oh, why are you face down? Like, you need to be facing the other way. And she notices and she's like, no, crap. And of course they end up on the bed.
Yeah, she tackles him, and again we end up in another snuggle on a horizontal surface. And then he's just shameless. He's like, I want to stay here.
Yeah.
I want to love you.
I want to, I want to love a lot from now on. I want to love you, is what he tells her. And she's just like, but they're not looking eye to eye anymore. No. Like, it's like a full-on hug. Like, her head is over his shoulder.
Yeah.
And she's just, like, staring and just like, But that's such a sweet thing to say. I mean,
but is it sweet coming from your boss while you're laying on your bed snuggling like that out of nowhere?
Probably not so much. Probably not so much. However, that's showing his shell breaking.
Yeah.
And whether or not for her it's awkward in that moment, for his character, that is like, no, like I'm wanting to do this. I'm wanting to become something that I haven't been.
Well, in the way that he like mocked the whole washes away the day when he's like, what about my sterilized shower? And she goes, it's not that kind of a washing. But he kind of speaks her language. Yeah. So he speaks her language about what that hug really means. And it really is not meant to be anything more than just him admitting that he still needs her kind of thing. I think you're right. But in real life, that'd be super heckin' awkward.
You're like, I think you should probably leave.
I need to quit my job now and move away. Change my name. All right, episode 4. What are your final thoughts?
I think it's one of those, because I obviously did not have the same amount of notes that you did, because I just scribbled stuff down real fast.
That's okay.
I don't know. I think it's just it's a building block of an episode.
There was a lot of exposition.
It's showing off their teamwork and their compatibility when it comes to work environments, and when situations happen that are
unexpected,
intense. Her problem solving skills constantly, which then just like show what a great fit they are together when they're always the ones figuring out what's going on.
I feel like there was a huge setup with bringing the brother into the circle and how that dynamic is going to play out with Miso, especially because there's mutual interest there, and they are both so competitive when it comes to one another.
Because it is one another,
right? And how it's going to affect their relationship and how it's going to affect Miso and the way she views them will be really interesting to see how that plays out. That was episode 4.
Episode 4.
We did it.
Yay!
Finally.
I know.
Like what you're hearing, go ahead and hit that follow button so that you don't miss out on any new episodes. Thanks for listening to the K-Drama Show with Ashley and Kim. We'll see you next time.